Here is a misguided maxim. You can be anything you want to be if you just try hard enough.
Welcome. I think my camera froze during that entire intro. Everyone just popped on the screen. So if you got here before me, welcome early to another episode of Champion Reads, brought to you by Champion Circle. Champion Reads is where we talk about the best books by the best authors out there today, not just what they're saying, but how do they apply to our lives? How can we incorporate that to make our lives, our businesses, our world better in general? Champion Reads is brought to you by Champion Circle. Champion Circle is a networking organization built upon the principles of Think and Grow Rich and the Mastermind. You can find out more about us at mychampionscircle.com or on any of the podcast type channels at My Champion Circle. We are joined today by the founder Once again, we are joined today by the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. John Kovacs Jr., my co-host, the wonderful Mr. William Blake, and I'm Ian Sturmer. Today we're discussing Strength Finders 2.0 by Don Clifton by Tom Rath, which is founded by Don Clifton. One of my strengths today is not going to be a silvery tongue, but you know what? That's okay, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in thinking about a certain strength that we need to have, that we want to have this strength, or we can get that strength no matter what. If we just try hard enough, we can have anything we want, like our opening quote today. Notice how I just stopped even trying to talk about the name of this book or the author, because today that's not my strength. And that's one of the things about this book that I love is we have different strengths, and some of those are inherent in us. Some of those we need to work on and build and develop. But some of those are just not going to be our strength, period. We're just not going to get there. And that means we're just utter failures. No, we're not failures. What that means is we can learn from our strengths. We can build on these. And sorry, I'm looking at the other members in the back room here as we go through this. We can build on the strengths that we have that are inherent within us, and we can take that and soar with those rather than thinking we have to be something else. So I'm going to turn the time over here and to my co-host and say, what is it that you thought you were supposed to be and thought you could be and thought you would just be able to, inherit the world if you do that, and you bombed? Take it away, guys.
First of all, I want to pour into Ian and just say this job isn't easy. Like this is a fun process, creating podcasts, leading the group. We have a kind of like a rolling opening exercise rhythm that we get into, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, and you do it with such awesomeness. And I was laughing not at you but with the situation, because look, if I'm a listener and I'm listening to this podcast, I'm going to be like, wow, these guys are raw, they're real. And so I pour into you, Ian. Thanks for bringing the reality to this, as well as the humor. Like we need that. And before we jump in, or before I answer the question and thought and share some experiences, just before we jumped on, we discovered something about the book. And again, this is our fourth episode discussing this book. And for such a small, tiny little book, we've pulled out a lot of content and discussion on this. And so if you haven't watched the previous 3 episodes, go and watch them. You'll learn some great information on them. But I was going to share that Ian and I were just looking at the book. And by the way, the quote and the discussion today was inspired by Ian literally opening up the book, throwing his finger down and saying, that looks interesting. That's not usually our process, but today we were really inspired by it because there's a great concept that we're going to discuss in just a moment. But we found out that on the back of this book, you'll see the barcode, and Strength Finders 2.0 is a book that leads you to take the Strength Finders personality and strengths assessment online. If you buy the book, you can get the free assessment. If you don't buy the book and find it some other way, I think it's like $65 online. You can go and take it. It is a science-backed assessment that has millions of results. And I've held on to my results for years. And it has given me, if you listen to the previous 3 episodes, it has given me such confidence in knowing myself. So again, shout out to Tom Rath. I had to look at it too, Ian. Tom Rath and Clifton Strength Finders, because they've done a good job. And this is one of those. And again, you might be more familiar with the Myers-Briggs assessment or the DISC assessment or whatever one you choose to do. Great. And remember, they're assessments. They're not, this is who you are. This is not a diagnosis of oh my gosh, you have negativity is your greatest strength. Like, this is not a prognosis or a diagnosis to who you are. It is an assessment based off of averages that allows you to dive deeper into how you can work on particular parts of your life, your professional life, your personal life, your relationships. Your communication is one that's big on this one. And I love that. So all that aside, that disclaimer is now finished. Ian and I found out that on the back, there is a barcode, and underneath the barcode, it says, remove the book jacket, because these are hardcovers, remove the book jacket for your top 5 frame. And we literally unveiled, oh my gosh, speaking of being naked, look at this book. It is complete, my top 5. Like, there you go. So when you take your assessment or you identify with your top 5 strengths from the book, you can literally write them in with permanent marker, with erasable marker, because they might change. You never know. But this book was designed to help you and to keep it to keep it out in front. So keep this book. Such a great resource. Now, to Ian's question. My time starts now. Just kidding. After all of that, to answer your question, Ian, I have a at first, when I hear that quote, and I'll just turn to it again, page 5, it's you can be anything you want to be if you just try hard enough. How many times have I been told that in my life? And not to like dig on those who shared it, because I appreciate the positive, optimistic influences in my life. And that's something that we could be telling our younger generations, because a lot of them don't really know, and they don't really want to be much. They just want to be in the moment. And that's also reputable. But I have feelings surrounding this quote. You can be anything you want to be if you just try hard enough. Well, I too, in this example in the book, wanted to be something great. And I am not that great that I dreamed of. I wanted to be an Olympic champion, and it is all I dreamt about. It is all I cared about. And growing up, from like the first time I witnessed the Olympics on television as a kid to the years in the late 2012, between all of that, there was one thing on my mind, and that was to be an Olympic champion. And it didn't matter what sport to me, but I picked one. It was track and field, and oh, what the heck, I'm just kind of this kind of person. So I picked the hardest track and field event of all time, which is the decathlon, because you have to master 10 events. And I got to a point where I looked at the path, I looked at the options, I looked at where I was, and I realized that I could make an adjustment. Now, I don't want to fill people's minds with this idea that I was this gifted athlete, that I had everything in my abilities to be the greatest of all time. I don't want to mislead people, because I get to telling my stories, and then I quickly transition over to giving them the information of why I made the adjustment, where I went with this. But just the mere thought and belief that I could go to the Olympics puts me on this pedestal that people see as, okay, John was there. And the reality is could I have made it? Yes, I could have. But would I have if I went down that route? Who knows? You don't know. because injury, because of circumstances, finances, backing, permissions, applications. There's a lot of things that go into this that were unknowns for me. But the unknowns that I decided to follow were greater than the unknowns that I was on a path to achieve. And this quote, you can be anything you want to be if you just try hard enough. I think the answer to this is a different quote. You can be anything you want to be, period. But there are things you must do to become them. In the example of the book, and I'll pass it over to everyone else because I'm using up a lot of our time, like most people, this was embraced, this maxim at a young age, along with thousands of other kids. And this is just reading from the book. So I'm talking from Tom Rath. He said, I spent a good chunk of my childhood trying to be the next Michael Jordan. Stop there. I spent the majority of my childhood dreaming of the Olympics, thinking that I can be whatever I want to be if I just try hard enough. And if you don't succeed, try again, or try again, right? We all know that phrase. But there's a misguided maxim to this, because let's tie it back to our strengths. I had a strength, and that was I have a lot of physical energy, and I could use that to become an Olympic champion. Could I still today? Maybe. Unknown. But at the same time, too, I had a dream, and I had an idea of what I wanted to be. And sometimes we think we want to be what we want to be, but we can't be that. AKA, he wanted to be the next Michael Jordan. Well, there's only one Michael Jordan, and there's only one you. So let me open it up to the rest of the group to comment, share, or share what they would like to, with that leading gesture of there's only one you. So what is that, and where are you headed with it?
You bring up several good points. One that I love is the strengths of like, you can do something, but is it what you're supposed to be doing? Is that like your purpose in what you're doing? I remember when I started out college, I wanted to be an accountant because I was really good at numbers and knew how to do accounting stuff. Then about halfway through, I realized, sure, I can do the math, but I enjoy business more because it incorporates math, but then also incorporates creativity. It incorporates analytics. It incorporates like selling. It incorporates so many other things that I also had a strength in. So I graduated with a bachelor's. And then after that, I'm like, that's great, but there's also coaching, which is now what I'm into, because it incorporates the math of the accounting with the business stuff that's in there, as well as the other strengths that I have of listening, of observing, of being able to give great third-party advice and consulting and stuff like that, as well as like other things that you need in it, with public speaking, and like so many things went into it. And so what I thought was, I'm going to be the best accountant. I'm going to get my CPA. I'm going to maybe start my own business or work at the top 4 accounting firms. Like, I'm going to make so much money. This is going to be great. And then my mind, what Joan's talking about, it opened to this whole new universe of who am I supposed to be? And just using one strength would have been fine. I would have been fine the rest of my life doing that. But is fine enough? And for me, it wasn't. I don't want to just be having a fine life. I want to be having a great life with my family, with the people that are in my inner circle. So I took that one strength and then incorporated all the rest with it. And right now, maybe there's more I'm not incorporating. Right now, I'm going forward with the coaching, going forward with speaking, and being able to do this wonderful stuff on Champion Reads and through Champion Circle. It really comes down to like incorporating all of our strengths and really just incorporating us into what we're supposed to be doing.
Love that. As I'm thinking here, we've all gone through changes in life. So I'm going to share mine too. Started out in high school, I started doing photography. Got in the yearbook and the newspaper, and had some artistic friends, played with it some, and got a couple of awards. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go into photography, and started college as a photography major. And then I kind of realized that there were a couple of things I wanted. I could get a real job. And if I got a real job, I could still do photography and I could eat. Or I could be a photographer, not have a real job, and probably not eat either. So I wanted to have at least two of those three things, eating being one of the critical ones in that whole process. So as I thought about it, okay, photography, I still think is one of my strengths, but maybe that's not really the strength that I needed to work on then. I could enjoy that strength. Now, I know photography is not listed in the strengths within this book, and we've kind of been diverting away from the actual strengths in there, but I think the concept holds true, that maybe we think we should have something, but the ones that we want to have, we can always work on those. We can always enjoy those. They can be our hobbies. But the strengths that we have within us that we can develop are the ones that are going to push us to the greatness that each of us are able to achieve on our own. Now, I would love to be the woo guy that John is. For those of you who listened to the earlier podcast, his top trait is woo, which is winning others over. I would love to do that. But maybe my woo is I can connect with certain people and I can build those connections and win those people over. Maybe not that whole big group that a real woo person does. So I can enjoy that woo. I can build on it. But at the same time, I can take what my core strengths are and really maximize those. And I think we're going to find more fulfillment when we maximize the core strengths that we have that we can find through short commercial. Take the Strengths Finders test and see where yours are. It may not be where you expect.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I want to add to that. And again, pulling from what Tom Rath said here in the book, he said, even the legendary Michael Jordan, who embodied the power of raw talent and a lot of work, I might add, on a basketball court, could not become, well, the Michael Jordan, in quotes, of golf or baseball, no matter how hard he tried. And we all know that Michael Jordan took a break from basketball, went off and played baseball in the major leagues, but couldn't be the greatest. He couldn't be the Michael Jordan on the court as he was on the field, and he couldn't do it on the golf course either. Was he talented enough to get recognized and enough to play, but not to be the Tiger Woods of golf? Or thinking of a baseball, the great Bambino of baseball. Like, he literally was the best at his one strength, and he had talents elsewhere. And I think that what you shared, Ian and Willie, is perfect, because look, we have strengths, and we can find strengths in other areas of our lives. But to truly find your greatest strength and to delve deeper into that and to develop it and to become the Michael Jordan, to become the William Blake, the Ian Sturmer, the John Kovach of your strength, is vital to the validity and to the fulfillment of life in and of itself. And not only that, will it bring you prosperous outcomes. It will bring you so much more than you've anticipated. And I use the word prosperous because I don't mean it in just a monetary way. I think as you seek value in life and this existence, you'll find that your greatest strengths will bring you the greatest joy. If you delve deeper into your weaknesses, you'll be creating a well-rounded version of you, but you will not truly experience the joy that comes from being the best you can be at your greatest strength. And that's a bold statement to just kind of drop on our listeners. So I apologize if that comes as a shock, but we truly want you to find your strengths. And whether it's through Strength Finder, which we highly advocate for because we're reviewing the book, but if there are other assessments or other ways of you finding those strengths, dive deeper into that. Go down those rabbit holes and discover yourself from within. Tony Robbins famously uses the phrase, find the power within. And you truly have that power. That is something that is innately given to you. It's the God-given energy and talents that we're blessed to have. So I just wanted to add my comment and add on to what Ian and William were saying, because it's so important for you to find your strengths by whatever means necessary, appropriately necessary, I should say. Again, we're not going to get into, the strengths that serial killers and other people have that are not really great for society, but we want to focus on the positives, your strengths that lead to your personal fulfillment and to the betterment of society. And again, that's an important piece and outline to consider.
And to add on to that caveat and what John was saying, I'd give a little counsel to those who are listening, and I'll wrap this up as my final thought. The counsel is, just because you focus on your strengths doesn't mean you let your weaknesses go, because sometimes when you let your weaknesses go, then it hurts you. It hurts your strengths. So we're not saying that focus on your strengths so much that you don't put minimum effort to help that your weaknesses don't harm you. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is focus on your strengths to then multiply what you're doing, rather than trying to keep up with everything that who you are not. I know for myself, I am not probably not going to be America's I don't know, probably not America's Next Top Model, but American Idol. Maybe I'll become a model, who knows? But American Idol, being able to sing, I don't think I'm going to be a winner of that, because I am innately not a fantastic singer. And whenever I sing, people aren't coming to me being like, "Oh, your voice is so glorious." And I understand that, and I recognize that. That also being said, that doesn't mean I don't still sing and practice my voice for when I want to sing to my kids a good night's sleep, so that they don't hear screeches while they're trying to fall asleep, right? It's not avoiding the weaknesses. It's being able to put the time in to multiply your strengths, rather than just adding on to really the lesser strengths that we have. So still work on your strength, still work on your weaknesses, like with the minimum effort you need to keep them up, but then double down on your strengths, because that is where you're going to hit those multipliers in your life and in your business and in everything that you do for your career and everything in your life.
Love that. I will point out that singing voice is one of my weaknesses. It's definitely not a strength. And my wife has requested that I stop working on improving that. So maybe I should just lay off of that one. But that aside, I can still sing in the car as loud as I want. And I thoroughly enjoy doing that by myself when there's no one around. So no matter how bad your weakness is, there's probably a place you can enjoy that anyways. But I want to jump back just as my final thought to, we talked about Michael Jordan. He was an example in here. Now, think if Michael Jordan had said, yeah, I'm good at basketball, but I just love baseball. That is it. And he put all his focus into baseball. Now, he did far better than probably any of us will ever be at baseball. I mean, my best effort, I would never make a college team, and probably not a high school team, let alone going pro baseball for a little bit. So first of all, kudos to him, because his weakness is something that would be considered an amazing strength to the majority of the world. But if he had given up basketball early just to do baseball, how much sadder would the world be? Because we didn't have his example to lift us up. I am not a sports person at all. I know his name. I recognize his picture. I've seen his sneakers on ones he endorsed or whatever. But even so, I am inspired by who Michael Jordan is. And when I think of greatness, he's one of the names that pops up first, because he was able to take what may not have been his initial passion, but he recognized the strength and build on that. And he is, whether you like basketball or not, whether you're a Chicago Bulls fan or one of the other teams out there fan, he has lifted up the world and given us a vision of hope and achievement and just greatness. So when we look at Strengths Finders, think about that on our side. our strengths can lift up those around us. Maybe not to a Michael Jordan level, but maybe to a me level, to a my friends and family level. That's my strength and help inspire them and bring me the success that I want in life. Now, whatever that success is different for everyone, but a sense of accomplishment, because knowing that you have something you're good at and you can build on that. And you can still enjoy your passions. You can still work on it and strengthening other areas that you would like to have. But the key part is we all have strengths that we can use, and we can utilize those strengths to uplift ourselves, those around us, and make at least our corner of the world a little bit better. So is there any last comments before I close it off? Because my emceeing is all over the place today. So I'm just going to hand it to John.
I'll just wrap up real quickly and just say thank you, by the way, for ending it with that. And I am a really great singer, not to rub it in. Let me finish that sentence, though. I'm a really great singer in the shower, and that's best where I do my greatest creations. But I will say that this is such an inspiring message, despite the connotation that you really just, if I turn to that phrase, okay. And I should have had it open when I was thumbing through to it. You can be anything you want to be if you try hard enough, as a misguided maxim. Rather think of it as you can be anything that you want to be and follow your greatest strengths, because those will lead you to the path of becoming the Michael Jordan of your greatest strength. And that's something that I think the 99.99% of this world don't do, because we have interests, we have ideas, we have thoughts. And it's not to say that you can't become something great while riding the coattails of your greatest strengths, because you can do great things. I will say, like listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. If you ever listen to him speak on stage, he goes against all of the major fundamental principles of great speakers. He's not the greatest storyteller. He's kind of in your face. He's got that New York attitude and voice. He's explicitive in many things that he says. He's actually cleaned up his language a lot over the years. But what I'll add is he's still one of the greater speakers of today. In fact, he makes hundreds of thousands of dollars speaking on stage alone. And it's because he's used his strength as a marketer to become recognized, to be somebody who helps people, who delves into building businesses and industries. And he's very wise with his decisions. So he doubled down on his strengths to get him to a place where now he gets to do other things and interests. And I can tell you from today, like, he's not the greatest motivational or public speaker. There are great clips of him. And yes, he has great lines and sound bites and so forth. But from a fundamental standpoint, everything you learn in the books and learn from gurus and learn from other public speakers, he doesn't have it, but yet he's doing it. So don't close yourself off to saying, I can't reach my dreams just because my greatest strength doesn't support that. Could I still become an Olympic champion? It is still a possibility. Nothing is impossible, but my greatest strengths come from winning people over and developing relationships at a core level, and then turning that into one of my greatest passions, which is public speaking or coaching or development. And one of my greatest goals is to supply the world with employment so that people have inspired places to bring them purpose and thriving solutions for their lives. I'll get off my pedestal. I'm John Kovacs Jr., and I just wanted to say I approve Ian and William's message.
Thank you. I do seek approval a lot. But I love what you said at the end there, that your biggest strength from this assessment is winning people over. But that winning people over has built within you a desire to have something to win them over to. And I'm kind of psychoanalyzing you here, but that's built up within you desires to learn, desires to create opportunities to put these people. You could go and be a guru on a mountaintop, or you could be a cult leader somewhere and win people over for that, and all those wonderful things. But instead, that's inspired you from one strength, has inspired you to find more strength and want to develop those strengths. And I think there's a chain reaction that can happen here. So if you're struggling with wondering what your strength is, if you're feeling a little bit down about not achieving some of the goals that you would like to, I encourage you to pick up a copy of StrengthsFinder. Obviously, taking the assessment would be immensely helpful, but even reading through those strengths and saying, oh, hey, that looks like something I can do, and build on that first strength and let that chain reaction grow. Because I believe we all have a lot of strengths. Some we understand, some we believe in, some we haven't uncovered yet. So with that, let me thank everyone for joining us today. Please pick up a copy of StrengthsFinders. Buy one, order one, or go to the library and see if there's one there. I think they would be happy if you find your strength no matter where it is. If you've enjoyed this podcast, we encourage you to like and subscribe to us so you can find out more that we have done. We've done several books. Every month we start a new book. So if we haven't hit your favorite yet, you have a chance to reach out to us. You can email us at info@mychampioncircle.com or leave a comment for a book you'd like us to review. And we will take it under consideration and see what we think about it. But we seriously would love to hear your comments. Would love to see your reactions. Love to know your thoughts on what we're saying now as well. Again, we're brought to you by Champion Circle. You can find out more about Champion Circle at mychampioncircle.com, a networking organization built on the principles of the Mastermind methodology. And again, you can find us on all of the major podcast channels and 7 of the minor podcast channels as well. So I will leave it up to my co-host to figure out which 7 of those are. But we look forward to talking with you some more as we continue delving into more of the best books by the best authors and how they help us in our lives today. So thank you.